something like that. I'll try to take your question. I may not answer it because I might not know it or I might not understand your question, but I'll try and respond to it, okay? So, discernment. How many of you know that word? Yeah? Right? We throw it around all the time in ministerial circles. You know, we're discerning my vocation, discerning the truth, discerning what I'm feeling, discerning what the heck is going on in my congregation. It means the ability to see and understand people, things, or situations clearly and intelligently. It also means the quality of being able to grasp and comprehend what is obscure. And today we're going to talk about discernment in something called the Johari Window. How many of you have heard of the Johari Window? Okay, awesome. We're already in unknown territory. So, Johari Window has actually been around for a while. And one of the places I've been trained, the St. Mark's Clinical Pastoral Education Program, we teach the Johari Window as a method or a resource or a model to understand what we show to other people, how we relate to people, okay? And it was originally developed as a heuristic, a technique, to help people better understand their relationship with self and others. It's been used in corporations, the military, and interestingly enough, it's named Johari Window because it was made by two guys, one named Joe and one named Harry. So Joseph Luft and Harrington Ingham in 1955. It's been around for a while. All right? So the original method is people were given 56 adjectives, and they were asked to pick 5 or 6 that describe themselves. And then their peers, the people they work with, were asked to pick 5 or 6 that described them. And then those adjectives are laid out on a grid. And what I want you to, as we get into this, what I want you to understand about the Johari Window is there's 4 grids, okay? And I drew this up here. All right? So the first one, and I'm going to describe them left to right, top to bottom, okay? So the first one is the open one, known. And this related to adjectives that were selected by both the person and their peers. So this is stuff that everybody knows about you. Okay? You know it, other people know it. The second one in the upper right, we have what's called the blind area. Alright? Because it's known to others and not known to yourself. So these are adjectives that your peers picked about you that you didn't pick about yourself. Okay? The third area is known to the self and not others. It's called the hidden quadrant or area. And those are adjectives you picked about yourself, but which other people didn't pick about you. And then the fourth one is the unknown area. And that's where all the other adjectives that nobody picked might be, if they describe you and nobody knows they describe you. So you don't know it, your friends don't know it, it's not obvious to people. So the way I want you to think about this Johari Window is not just the heuristic, not just that method or technique, but the model. And I want you to think about it in a more narrative and discerning kind of a way. Okay? So, discerning is in the ability to see things, people, and situations clearly. The 4 quadrants. Known to everyone. Okay? Known to others, but not known to yourself. Known to yourself, but not others. And then, the enigma, not known to anyone. Okay? I'm going to use some personal examples to illustrate these. So rather than embarrassing anyone else, we'll talk about me. All right? So, start with the first quadrant. What do we know about me? You know, there must be something, right? Anyone have something they notice that they want to share?
You are a man.
I'm a man. There you go. First quadrant, quality.
Good speaker.
I'm a Unitarian, probably. Yeah.
You're willing to put yourself out on a limb.
Also true. Maybe I don't know that about myself, though. That might belong in, right? We could. So I think that's pretty clear. You know, I have a beard. I'm wearing a bluish shirt, right? So that quadrant's pretty easy to understand. They're obvious things. When we go into, let's look at the second quadrant. What might you notice about me that I might not know about myself? Like, is my fly down while I'm standing up here?
Yeah.
Okay. Am I saying the word a lot during the sermon? Unconsciously. Tucker already said you're willing to put yourself out there. maybe I don't realize that. Are there any other things? Anyone want to surprise me with anything?
You sing well.
Ah, okay. I might know that about myself, or I might not, right? So are we getting a feel for what that second quadrant might be like? Let me share a couple of things. In CPE, one of the things that comes up for me constantly is that in group, my face says what I'm feeling before I know I'm communicating it. So somebody says something that I disagree with, and I go, you know, and I'm sitting there in group like this while people are talking, and I'm constantly being told by peers that they know what's going on inside of me before I know, or before I communicate it, right? And there's another thing. Oh, and I was out at the poker party that I bought at the auction really fast. And I think now I know why. So there's another story that someone else noticed about me. It's a nice one. I didn't know I was doing it. I had a fellow chaplaincy student who had a lot of anxiety. We do this thing in pastoral care, role play, right? And what role play is where we have to practice chaplaincy and people watch us, our peers watch us, and then they critique us, tell us what we missed and stuff. So you might pretend you had a spiritual issue and God's telling you to run off to Las Vegas and gamble your life savings on number 23. And I might sit down with you and explore what that's like for you, and everybody else would watch us and then critique my work. This colleague of mine, understandably, was really anxious about doing his first one. And I was trying to offer him the opportunity. I was feeling some empathy, so I was trying to encourage him to kind of experience it and play a patient first. And so I said to him, you know, I thought maybe you'd like to be the patient for my role play. And he said, no. And I said, well, you know, I think it might be good for you. I started explaining it to him. I think it might be good for you being the patient for my role play. You might get your feet wet a little bit. And he said, no, I really don't want to do that. And then I said, I just want to offer you the opportunity, right? And one of my peers just started busting out laughing and almost fell out of his chair, repeating, I just want to offer you the opportunity. John, you really don't know how to take no for an answer, do you? And I got really mad at him, and I got really mad at everybody that was laughing with him, and I completely drove angry on my way home that day. But come to find out, after a bunch of exploration and conversation with my supervisor and so forth, I was having trouble taking no for an answer. It was something I was doing. It was in the second quadrant. Other people could see me doing it, but I couldn't see myself doing it. So let's look at this third one. The third quadrant. Things about myself that I know that other people don't know. So some of you may not know, I have a spinal column injury, C5-6 up here in my neck. Now, did you know that bowel and bladder function are some of the last things that you get back after a spinal column injury? They're like the hardest to recover. That is probably something most of you don't know about me. And it's not something I reveal very often to people. It definitely belongs in that third quadrant. It gives a pretty good example of the third quadrant. Does everyone feel like they have that, or should I reveal some more personal? Unsettling? Are we good? So then we get to the fourth, the unknown. And this is where discernment can be really useful. Discernment as in the quality of being to grasp and comprehend what is difficult to understand or obscure. The fourth quadrant is where there's truths about who we are and how we are with others that none of us recognize right away, that none of us know. It's a powerful quadrant of discovery and learning. So, a personal example. I grew up in a mediator role in my household. I was a peacekeeper among my family, so when my parents would fight, I would be the one who step in, kind of try to resolve it, mediate, my sister too. And I grew into that role quite a lot, and some of you have seen me do it in leadership roles here. It's actually useful, and I can be very good at it. But it also comes with some interesting side effects, right? So I developed some very interesting manipulation skills, right? That help people comply with my agenda, So in CPE, we do this thing called grand rounds. And one of those things, it's one of the things that a resident chaplain does, is they're learning, okay? And we're supposed to explore strategy for spiritual care, present all the medical information, complications for a case, and then explore strategy for spiritual care, right? So in my first grand rounds, I was leading, and a colleague of mine commented, "Why is it that I want to agree with you, John, when I know I disagree?" Right? And someone else commented, "Hey, I feel like that with John a lot, you know?" And then someone else noticed that I was ending my sentences with confirmation language, you know? Right? And then someone else noticed my body language. I was doing the same thing, you know? I would lean forward while talking, and then as I finished, I'd kind of hook back and lean back, like trying to bring them with me, right? And then I was hooking people, and then someone else noticed that I kept looking at my supervisor while I was presenting, you know, for confirmation, right? And then the whole meeting turned into an exploration of my insecurities and around authority, you know, and how that affects my language, body language, and intonation. Sometimes I would make statements like they were a question. And the whole meeting, everyone was shocked by this. Nobody had noticed that I was doing this. What they noticed was that they wanted to agree with me when they knew they disagreed. I was completely blindsided. As you can imagine, ground rounds is like one of my favorite things to do now, right? So that's the fourth quadrant. It's a scary place. Yeah?
It can't be there anymore.
Yeah, that piece of me is not there anymore. No, and as a matter of fact, I just moved it to the first quadrant, open, known. I shared it with all of you. So now when I'm feeling insecure in relationship with you, you know, and I start using tactics, right? Any one of you is going to be able to call me on that, aren't you? You're going to be able to say, "Hey, John, you're doing that thing." So I want to talk about some expressions of this, okay? Come down here. Because as we use this, we can see different personality ideas or expressions by changing the shape of it a little bit, okay? And the first one I want to talk about is called the bull in the china shop. Now, if you remember, this second quadrant is stuff known to other people that's not known to ourselves, okay? And so this is the bull in the china shop expression of personality, where your quadrant of things other people know about you is way larger than what's openly discussed, what you know about yourself, this itty bitty thing down here, and what's unknown. So I have a story about this too, and it's a horror story from seminary, okay? Kind of a boogeyman kind of a story. So there's this new seminary student, and he graduates, and he gets his first call to his congregation, and he's calling his mentor and talking about it. Everything, he says, everything's going well. We have our annual meeting in a few weeks, and there's some concern about the budget. Right? Everybody's a little worried about it. And I think I got a good strategy, though. I'm going to be able to present it pretty well, and I think people will come around. So he calls his mentor up after the meeting and goes, "They dismissed me." Apparently, I did not listen to concerns about the budget. Apparently, I was dodging meetings about the budget and conversations and changing the subject. And apparently, during the meeting, some of them said I was shouting, and they dismissed me. It is a great seminary horror story designed to keep seminary students up at night praying that their second quadrant is not bigger than they think it is. Okay, and then we'll go to another expression here. The cool customer, or the turtle in the cupboard expression. This is when you have a huge set of things you know about yourself that other people don't know about you. The itty bitty quadrant over here. And that in this open quadrant you're not really talking about. And the unknown is just kind of over there. This happens sometimes to all of us. It happens to me as a professional chaplain. I can tell it happens because the person goes suddenly, "So, what religion are you? Where did you grow up?" And it happens usually right after they shared an intimate story with a lot of personal emotion and details. And then there's a pause. And suddenly they go, "So, tell me something about you." Because they're feeling vulnerable. And so at that point, it's time for a chaplaincy to use some appropriate self-disclosure. So I tell them about the failings of bowel and bladder function in relation to spinal column injuries. Of course, I don't really, but it gives you an idea. And then we go to, here's another expression, the enigma, the mystery. This is a fourth quadrant experience where you don't know what's going on with you, and neither does anybody else, or the other person. I think a good example of this is my wife and I go through this sometimes, where I say, what do you want? Or what are you feeling? And she says, I don't know what I want, or I don't know what I'm feeling. And then we have to go on a journey of discovery together, discernment. We have to wander around in that fourth quadrant, trying to figure out what's going on for both of us. This is a powerful place of learning for us together when we're in relationship with one another. So ultimately, what we want to work towards, especially in a beloved community or a community of faith, is a more balanced representation like this, where the open quadrant is available. I know things about me, you know things about me, it's okay to bring them up, talk about them, we're comfortable with it. We have some things that, maybe other people know about us that we don't know about ourselves, or a few things we hold back, Probably you guys would feel better if I held back the bowel and bladder function, right? There's stuff that belongs here, and things that belong here. But most things are in this open kind of quadrant. And that way we're in good relationship with one another. We share knowledge with each other. So as you can tell, this Johari window, I keep calling it Johari, I think because it's silly to me that it's named Johari because a guy named Joe and a guy named Harry came up with it. But this Johari window is more than just a heuristic or a technique. It becomes a way of understanding relationship. It's a model we can use, a vision, so to speak, of relationship between us. For example, if you know something about me that I don't know about myself in that second quadrant, the blind self, and you share it with others. So, you go talk to another person in the community or whatever about this thing you know about me. We're not really in right relationship, are we? We're not really open in being with one another. We're not really tending to our relationships. But if you have the courage to come and talk to me, share it with me. Or if it's something over here and we have the courage to wander around and discern it together, then it shifts into this open area. We did that a little earlier in the sermon, right? So then we can discern and discover new ground together. And so for the rest of the month, as we explore vision in this community, and as we think about the way vision affects our spiritual lives, I'd like you guys to kind of think about this a little bit once in a while. See what it brings up for you and what you're able to find. Thank you. If you'll